Okay, so let's talk about impact. This is a little bit of uncharted territory. I think because where practice is currently at is monitoring and evaluation. So about 10 years ago, we started looking at a methodology to assess overall impact. Because here's the thing, you can look at programs individually. But our clients were asking us, specifically boards, if you can think about the green bank, when numbers starts escalating, you want to have a bigger picture. And so we were looking for a way to understand if you are investing substantially, how do you get a picture of total investment? Not just the 2 million rand project. So what is my overall impact? And a lot of that had to do with reporting. Because companies, if you look at the reporting frameworks, the sustainability and the integrated report says, how did you contribute to change? How did you, through your programs, through your investments, contribute to the economy? So there was a need to look at programs both individually as single programs within a portfolio, as well as collectively for total investment. And then the other side of the question was, so now that we've invested all of that, what did we get out of it? Which then led to a realization that there isn't something out there. And so 10 years ago, we started considering how would you look at this kind of information collectively. And this is what's led to a methodology to measure collective impact. And analyze that impact to get to a different answer. And so for us, the impact assessment process really addresses 3 questions. What was our purpose? And that is why I paid so much emphasis to the theory of change. What is it that we wanted to achieve? Then also understanding how we're going to achieve this. And then eventually, did we achieve this? And so this for me is like, what was our purpose? What was our process? And then thirdly, what was our performance? Because we've set an objective, we've set a target, we've defined what we wanted to change. The question now is, did we? In what way did we? And for us, the impact assessment is really a process. And the discovery that we've made over the 10 years is how interconnected everything is, which is why I was able to identify a grant-making cycle. Because impact is the outcome of all of that. So impact for us starts with your strategy, where you've defined the change that you foresee. It starts, or it follows from strategy to how you do it. Let me explain to you. In your operations, I can make a direct correlation between the amount you invested and the impact that you achieved. Because of assessing effectiveness, of assessing efficiency, of doing a cost-benefit analysis. I can tell you per stakeholder how much was that effective or not. Was there wastage? And then, so we look at strategy, we look at the management processes, the operational process, the programmatic processes, and through that, each aspect contributes to the final outcome. For instance, if you outsource to intermediaries, I can tell you that at least 50% of your impact It's going to be on the NGO. Because that's a very big learning, because up until now we aimed at end beneficiaries. But the money went to the intermediary. Before it got to the end. That's an outcome of a process. So this whole journey over 10 years has made us realize that impact assessment is really the outcome of a process. To look at the strategic input, the operational input, the programmatic input in order to change something. And then the question is, for whom did this change? So when we look at impact assessment, at the overall impact, did it work? Did it not work? How effective was it? For whom did it work? Did it work for some beneficiaries than for others? We look at the nature and distribution, which is why I said to you yesterday, stakeholders. So consider, going back to our teacher development program, who was the first beneficiaries? The teachers. They were the direct beneficiaries. But the impact didn't stop there. And that's what we're looking for in development. How far does our impact stretch? How deep does our impact stretch? Because some of the teachers was more impacted than others. So we need to get a handle to, when we do want to understand what change, in what way, for whom, how much. That's the kind of questions we're now looking for. And then we look at, like I explained to you, so when there's less impact that we foreseen, why? So like I said, it could be something as simple as we didn't provide transport. And that affected the effectiveness of our program. How it works, because we're trying to understand going forward, can we increase impact? If we do this again, can we scale? Will that give us a bigger spread? Will it give us deeper impact? And then lastly, what we set out to do as a bare minimum, as a direct impact, as a direct objective and target. Did we achieve what we set out to do? Shall we?
So, I just want to check you on before I get confused. Impact, in your view, isn't there both negative and positive impact? And if you say, because if you say more impact and less impact, it can either be more negative, it's positive, or less negative, or more positive and less positive. It's not as you automatically think about impact. Impact is always talk about it in positive terms.
Yes.
Impact must be automatically positive. So that's the one thing I want to check. The other thing is, you mentioned yesterday as well, you talked about scale and scalability. Now, if we think about scale, then we jump to bigger. Is scale always bigger, or is scale sometimes just increased positive impact for that same stakeholder group?
A very big learning for us is impact has got dimensions to it. And that comes from the philosophy that negative impact is also impact. Indirect impact is also impact. Short-term impact is also impact the same way long-term impact is impact. So here was a very big learning for us, is the dimension of impact. Can we give it a name? Can we define it? Can we define positive versus negative impact? Can we define short-term impact compared to long-term impact? Can we compare social impact to environmental impact? And that gave a whole different understanding of how do we define impact. To answer your question of scale, it's very interesting. Scale at this point in time is as undefinable almost as impact. Let me explain to you why. So the scale of the impact needs to be defined. It's not just the depth of impact, the number of stakeholders affected, because that gives you scale. The more stakeholders, the bigger the success, the more impact. Similarly, scale could mean the connectedness of impact. The fact that we had economic impact and there was income generated, which allowed me to start a business, which allowed me to employ more people. 4 different impacts, and that is also scale. So I'm just saying, what we've realized is that we use words, but only when you've got to provide evidence of what you mean do you realize the importance of definition. So scale for us is not just a quantitative number, from 200 to 2,000 teachers. It is not just the fact that it's the teachers and the learners. It is not just the fact that it's the teachers who got knowledge, who got then a bigger employability opportunity to get a different job, to earn a bigger salary. So actually we started a pathway for impact. And if we can understand then the scale of the impact. So scale is also one of those words like sustainability, as is impact. And that was a very big learning for us. The biggest thing here is to define what you mean when you say change. And that's going to come to indicators. To define what we mean by the change.